The obvious choice for you would be the undertones, and everybody would assume that's who we would have chosen. We haven't because it was too obvious, and I hope they understand.
The Wedding Present have been one of the UK's most successful independent bands over the last couple of years. They talked about this unusual direction and their new major label deal. How did you get into playing Ukrainian music? It is Ukrainian music, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you, Peter. So my one, this. Oh, this old story, here we go. Here we got the old story. My dad's Ukrainian. Right. Oh no. Here we go.
It started because my background is Ukrainian. My father's from Ukraine, but I was born in England, and as a kid, you go to these Saturday schools where they teach you about the history of your great country and how fantastic it is, and how wonderful the songs are, and the language is great. And to be honest, it's all made up, but it leaves an impression on you. And the impression that I had wasn't the language, wasn't even the history, it was the music. I just loved it from being a kid. We've done quite a few sessions for John Peel, maybe about 3 or 4, as The Wedding Present. And we've been in a bit of a phase where we've done lots of touring, so we're getting quite busy then, about 1988, and we didn't have as much time to write songs as we'd normally done. So when John Peel asked us to do a session, our first thought was, well, we can't really do one. For the first time ever, we can't do it, because we haven't got enough new songs. So I just suggested, well, why don't we do something wild? Why don't we just do these tunes we've been practising and playing around as Ukrainian folk tunes in the Wedding Present style?
These are the Ukrainians. These are sort of, this is, how would you describe it? I mean, the Wedding Present Ukrainian side, as it were, gone off on its own account and set up in business on its own as the Ukrainians, Messrs. Solovka, Liggins and Remains. And this is Oi Divchino.
I think he loved the audacity of it. He loved the fact that it was so different, the fact that we weren't even singing in English. And we were adding all sorts of things like accordions and mandolins on top of what was basically the Wedding Present style. I can't imagine any other person that you'd worked with in the music business who would just accept a session just on completely without any conditions from a band. And then they play music which is so bizarre and new. And he just says, yeah, fine, let's put it on the radio. That's just John.
Perhaps it's appropriate with Gorbachev emerging as man of the match that we should have this Russian/Ukrainian section from the ensemble. If you missed it the first time around, of course, this is not the Wedding Present that you're used to hearing, really.
Remember the first time we went to Kiev in 1990, and the number of people who had tiny little cassettes, right, with scratchy versions of the John Peel sessions that they'd picked up off some radio station somewhere in some version and been copied from tape to tape to tape, and they knew this music. And it wasn't just because it was Ukrainian. They actually had tapes which they were passing around of John Peel sessions, and people would compile the music, because even in places like Kiev and Poland, if you're into underground music, you wanted to know what John Peel said.
Very, very good indeed. They're in Europe at the moment, but I had a card from David Gage before they went to say that when they got back, they would like to do a similar session. I mean, music in a similar vein from the Ukraine and from Russia. And who am I to say them nay?
People were quite amazed that people from England would want to sing in Ukrainian language. It's always been a language that's pushed under. It's a backward language. It's not the language of progress. It's not the language of culture. That's Russian. To get people singing in Ukrainian was a really massive eye-opener for people there. And we would never have got that chance to go and perform in Ukraine and Poland if it wasn't for the John Peel thing again. So many thousands of people actually then started to look at their own history and traditions as far as music goes, because we were given that chance. And now we were the first band 20-odd years ago who were mixing Western styles and folk music. Now you go to Ukraine, there are dozens of them. And it's a musical style now. Whereas before, we were the vanguard, but only the vanguard because of John.
Україна,
I like to imagine that when people in Ukraine now are composing music, the next generation down, and they think of their influences, I like to imagine that someone somewhere has got a tiny little record that's got the Ukrainians on it, or even the Wedding Present John Peel sessions, and they'll think about that as, these were the first. This is where a lot of it actually starts. I'm sure that's true for some people. And that is a really nice thought, a really nice legacy. Diaspora.